What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday. I'm so happy to be back. First interview of the year, and we're going to a very special place today. Copenhagen, yes, and DJ Noize is in the house already. I'm gonna send him awesome. My dad is in the house too. Hi, Dad. Hey! How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing okay.
Awesome. Do you hear the music?
Yeah.
This, let me start by saying that it's I'm very very excited. There's definitely excitement is in the air. It's highlight of my life today. I always considered you to be one of the very best to ever touch the turntables. And when I started my humble DJ journey back in '98, and I knew absolutely nothing about the art form, and I would watch DMC tapes like everybody else, and I instantly fell in love with your style. And you always been a model, and just always synonymous with excellence for me. So thank you so much for accepting my invitation.
Of course. Definitely not a problem. And thank you for the kind words.
Man,
So,
trust me, you are deeply loved and appreciated all around the world. And every time I talk about, memories with my friends, the beat junkies here, everybody, your name is always mentioned. So
thank you. I'm a big fan of the Junkies. I consider them my extended family, all of them. They're all very, very excellent, not just DJs, but people as well.
absolutely, absolutely. And have you been to LA before?
No, never been to LA.
Ah,
And it seems like you guys gonna need a reboot out there soon, from
well,
what I hear.
it's a very strange situation, but I'm staying home more than ever.
Hmm.
Just keep it safe, and once the madness is over, and if you want to come to LA, you have a home here.
Oh, I'm definitely coming over. It's on my bucket list to do these things.
Yep.
I mean, to see the other parts of America that I hadn't
Right.
seen before. Definitely. I mean, plenty of places, and LA is definitely on my list. I mean, also Sacramento. I know Mike was from there, Mixmaster Mike, and San Fran, of course, because the
Yep.
pickles and just it's the whole West Coast thing of it. I never actually had a tour through, and I also want to. DJ Aladdin was a big inspiration for me. I
Yes.
want to see where did he come from? What
Right.
made him the DJ he is today, or the DJ that I used to listen to. So it's on my bucket list, and yes, we're all not just LA, but the whole world is going to need a reboot. But we'll get through this, and we'll be
Oh,
traveling
sure.
again and seeing
Absolutely.
each other again sometime.
Absolutely. And if you need somebody to pick you up at the airport, you just hit me up. I'll be your city guide, take you anywhere you need to go. Absolutely. That will be my honor and pleasure. So,
I'll,
obviously the journey starts in your homeland of Denmark.
yep.
And, you and I are fellow European countrymen. I was born in Paris, in France.
Yeah.
And I always, I would like for you to tell me more about your country, about the lifestyle, your childhood, your teenage years, because we're really not far away from Paris, a couple hours flight, but I don't really know a lot about your country. So, for people who would like to know,
Yeah, well, I mean, the way to sum up Denmark, I guess, would to be, I mean, it's right dead in the center of not just Europe, but also Scandinavia,
hmm
which means that all the way back to the prehistoric days, the Viking days and stuff, we were always the center of trade. All
right?
the countries like Sweden would come down, and Germanic countries would come up and trade in our country, and then go back to theirs. So Denmark's always been kind of like a very small little heart of culture and trade and tourism, I think that's kind of what made especially the main cities, Copenhagen, Aarhus, and Aalborg,
Right.
made them so welcoming as they are today. And most people, when they come from overseas, they kind of get the semi Amsterdam kind of vibe in Copenhagen, and I
Yep.
think that pretty much sums it up fairly well. Plus, also, it was a country that where mandatory English is mandatory from seventh grade.
Mm.
So most people in Denmark speak English fairly well or can make themselves heard, communicate in some type of form in English.
Right.
So most people that come from overseas, whether they be from Belgium or from New Zealand or whatever, they can communicate with the Danish people.
Yep, that's something interesting that you mentioned the language, because that's something I will ask you after, to master the wordplay, because you are known, legendary DJ for mastering the wordplay, and I always told myself that your ability to speak English, because in France I could not understand all the lyrics. I loved hip hop because of the music and the beats. So that's what I would, but you guys in Scandinavia, in Germany, you are extremely comfortable with languages at a very young age. So I'm not surprised that you. So you said it was mandatory from seventh grade, right?
Definitely, and also I think that's I think the reason why American hip hop or the UK hip hop or basically any type of English speaking hip hop caught on to in Denmark was because it's a country with only 5 million people.
Mm.
So you look to a bigger market, which
Yep.
means that when we listen to German rap, we would love to try to figure out what the Germans are saying. And France is so big, it has its own market as well.
Right.
So they don't need to make English-speaking rap in France or in Germany or in any of the other bigger countries. And then because hip-hop originated in America, that was the main place we looked.
Yep.
But today it's rap music from all over the world. I mean, I know a lot of German rap is really big here in Denmark, and French rap all the way back to Alliance Ethnique and stuff
Sure.
also grew. Solar and them, they also grew all the way up here. So when you go to say like Roskilde Festival,
Yep.
here in not here in Copenhagen, but in Roskilde, there's a lot of French, German acts from all over Europe on the bill. So I think it might have started with the American influence, but it's become not universal but global now.
Right. Right. And were you born in Copenhagen or outside? Or?
No, I was born about 50 kilometers south of Copenhagen, a little place called Køge. You're going to have to kind of do the Danish
Right.
letter O with the line through
The line,
to
yep.
say Køge. Yeah, yeah. And then I lived right in that area till I was about 17. Then I moved to Copenhagen, which was back in 1993.
Oh, okay. So until you were 17, because so I was wondering. So during all those years, what kind of music were you exposed to at home? Your parents,
I'll tell you what. The funny thing is, a lot of people say, "Well, yeah, my dad's record collection was incredible," or "I am my mom's record." It was nothing to do with a record collection. The only one who had a record collection was my brother, and he used to listen to rock music and heavy metal music. So through him, I was exposed to all the Aerosmith and the AC/DC and Iron Maiden and even stuff like the prog rock, King Crimson, and all those things that were popular in his.
Yep.
But when it came to the musical background, my mother used to listen religiously to like Radio Luxembourg, and I think at one point Tony Prince from the DMC was actually a programmer on that radio station.
Absolutely.
So I might have been listening to Tony Prince when I was younger, but she would always turn up the radio whenever the dial, whenever something from like say Motown, Diana Ross, Marvin Gaye, whenever something like that came up, David Ruffin, Temptations, anything like that, she would turn it up, and then through my sister, who was a bit older than me, I got all the '80s inspiration with all the Human League and Duran Duran and
New Wave,
all those things. Yeah, so I can only say not a lot of people were out consistently buying records, but all the music that came through my house was like a generation of, say, I have a sister who's 5 years older than me, and then I have a sister who's 10 years older than me, and a brother who's 20 years older than me. So it's kind of like through all those generations, I always had like the music of 10, 5, 15 years behind me
Yep.
listening to. So it was all sorts of music, really, all sorts of music.
Awesome. Very eclectic house. Very eclectic environment.
Yeah, basically like living in a radio station, basically.
Right. I don't know if you saw Crazy B says hi.
Oh shit,
Yes.
Crazy's on here. I haven't
Yes,
spoken
indeed.
to him for ages.
We
Oh Jesus.
it took me to move to LA to finally meet
Oh,
him in Paris.
oh my God,
And
he's
there's
such
my
a good guy.
oh man, you guys battle in 2000 at the World Supremacy was one for the ages, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
well, no, we have a lot of fun memories as well. I remember all the French guys getting drunk in the hotels afterwards with the executioners and
oh
stuff.
man, I want you to if you can share some of the stories, when we get into the competition section of this conversation. So would you say that your love for black music came from your mom listening to Motown and soul?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely that's where it came from. I
Hmm.
mean, my father actually, I'm a divorced child. He left when I was 7, so I can't say he had too much to do with my musical upbringing. But
Right.
my mother definitely always turned up the. I just gotta say hi to Brian, who says coffee soon. Yes, definitely Brian.
You're already
So
drinking coffee, I'm sure.
no, actually, this is Teeds, and I want to be able
Oh,
to
tea.
sleep. But Brian is the guy who has the record store called Accord here in Copenhagen. So anytime you want to come over and
Awesome.
and bring and dig for records, that's him. No, my mother used to turn up all the, as I said, all the Motown stuff. So I think that's not necessarily where my love for black music came from. I think my
Hmm.
love for all music
Yep.
came from that household, definitely. But later on, it was just the introduction of, I was at a local youth club, and they had turntables, and we would scratch and look at what people were doing. The competitions they were showing snippets of on television,
Right.
and it was just a fun thing to do. And then I met my best friend, who I'm still friends with today, who played me my first rap record, and I was sold,
Mm.
which was EPMD, my first rap group.
So briefly, oh, by the way, shout out to my friend Soul Brother Suspect. We used to watch your tapes and everything together, and back in the day. So
Fun.
you are a big influence again for us. So before we get into the DJ side, did you study an instrument at school or at home? Or
No, the Norwegian side of my family were all. It's basically split up. I'm half Norwegian, so the
uh-huh.
Danish side of my family
Ah,
were all kind of either carpenters or welders or mechanics, or my father was a bricklayer. And my Norwegian side, they kind of had the musical side to it. My grandmother, she would play the guitar. My uncle, he would play the trumpet. My another uncle would play the piano. So
yep.
it was always that side of the musical aspect. I think for me came from the Norwegian side, and
Interesting.
I was encouraged to learn instruments,
Hmm.
drums. I got into really early because we had a music, what do you call it, a music room in our school.
Right.
So I played the drums religiously. Which were the only thing that I kind of stuck to, because learning the scales on the keyboard, or knowing how to hold the guitar, or wrestling with the big gorilla called the bass.
Yep.
It wasn't something I had enough dedication to do, but it's kind of what I always lean back to. Today
Hmm.
I play all instruments, but I just play them really, really bad. So thank God for the digital audio workstation, so you can always edit all your takes.
Right.
But when I saw the turntables for the first time, that's when I thought, listen, this is kind of like a percussive instrument. It's kind of like a
Hmm.
sampler, and it's kind of like something. It's kind of like something that it could be an instrument,
Yep.
and that's why I kind of stuck with it, because it was to me it felt like a new instrument that not a lot of people were doing.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Shout out to the legendary Prime Cuts in the house, Scratch
oh,
Perverts.
Joel, hey Joel, how you doing, sir?
Yes, he knows he's next. I reached out to him for a conversation because he's also one of my all-time favorite, just an incredible, skilled gentleman,
Yeah,
and I really look forward to it as well. So,
me and Joel have one thing in common, though. We both started on the drums.
well, I'm not surprised that you're saying that, my friend, because, I'm a pianist. That's my first instrument. And
Hmm.
I always, when I look at you guys, the first time I saw you was probably the '96, tape DMC, of course,
Yeah.
world winning set. And as far as Prime Cuts goes, the '98 championship, which was in Paris. And I always felt you
Hmm.
guys had a very percussive style, a
Oh yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
definitely.
very strong attack. When you whether you stab or also style based on speed as well, especially for prime cuts. So I'm not surprised that you mentioned the drum. You basically you approach. I would say. I mean, it's my humble opinion, but I would say you approach the turntables from the perspective of a drummer. It's a lot of
Okay.
attack, a lot of percussion, a lot of and I mean, I
It's
always
about,
loved this style.
yeah, it's about, it's all about keeping time, right? Don't
Right.
don't lose that. Have that inner clock, whether you're
Yep.
doing going one direction or another direction, which is something you also could see with Joel anytime he was scratching.
Oh
You
man.
knew he had the chops,
Sure.
and that's, I mean, it's not necessarily something that I get complimented on a lot because everybody else was scratching, and I
Right.
knew with people like Mike and Hubert and D Styles and those guys out there,
Right.
I wasn't going to be the best scratcher. So whenever I entered competitions, I never really focused on the scratch. I always focused on the things that I
Mm.
knew I could do that nobody else did,
Yep.
which is why a lot of people say, well, the king of the wordplay and, some juggles here and there and, you know, various routines that didn't really kind of like fit the mold of what somebody else would do. Somebody else would focus on a juggle, focus on a scratch routine,
Yep.
and kind of move on, where I kind of did complete opposite, and that was, I guess, kind of what won me the competitions at that time.
Well, you are still considered one of the greatest all-around DJ. And if I had to, I don't know if you like basketball, but if I had to pick one player, I would say you kind of like the Larry Bird or Magic Johnson of turntables because you do everything extremely well. And there's even the slightest transition is always thought out. You think as a kind of a music conductor and you always keep the crowd entertained, and that's something I always admired about you. There's always something for the crowd. It's like it's skills, the skills of course, but there's always a party vibe to it. It was never skills first, technicality first, music second. It was always in symbiosis. So that's something
Yeah.
I really appreciate.
Well,
Yes, go ahead.
I'll take that comparison, definitely. The Larry Bird comparison, I'll definitely take that. But then if I remember Kevin McHale saying something
Hmm.
along the lines of, if I was Kevin McHale, then the real Larry Bird would be probably Chris Carnes, DJ Vajra,
Mm,
in my opinion, who's to me is the greatest of all time. I mean,
wow.
that's, to me, I put him all the way at the top. And I don't mind playing second fiddle to somebody like that because he plays a pretty mean fiddle.
Yep. Absolutely, my friend. So let's talk about your introduction to the DJ world. And also, if you don't mind, because I'm a vinyl person and I know how much you love vinyl, if you could tell me a little bit about the digging back in the day in Denmark, the good spots and all that good stuff.
Well, the thing is, I was never really a digger to begin with.
Hmm.
I always looked to whatever my friends was listening to, and if they had gone to like the record store, say we had a store here in Copenhagen back in the days called Street Dance Records.
Hmm.
A lot of people will know this store if they know their history. And I would I would listen to. They came back with like say 5, 6 albums, or a stack of 12 inches. I would listen to whatever they were copying, and then I would pick out the one that I thought I could use for something.
Mm.
And it always had to have one of three qualities. Either it had to have an instrumental I could either scratch on or juggle.
Yep.
It would have to be have an a cappella I could scratch in like for the cuts, or it would have to be some sort of song that I could play in a club and then possibly use in a set later on. So I
Hmm.
always look for one of those three, and my collection. This is only part of my collection. You can see behind me here. I
Yep.
got like a wall of vinyl here behind me.
Hmm.
It's only kind of like half of what I got, but it's always stayed the same size because if I put a record in, I would try to find something that I hadn't been using for like a long time. like
Right.
one in, one out, kind of like how people organize their bookshelves.
I
Um,
see.
and that's what I did when I was digging as well. And later on, it became, well, everybody's using, say, Al Nafish.
Right.
It's time.
Mm-hmm.
What else can I use? And then I would find some obscure record that nobody had used. Like, for instance, going back to my brother's rock days, I would do a juggle with TNT by AC/DC or something like
Mm.
that, and try to do something that nobody really had used. And I still believe that today, even though with all the cue points and the technology that's available,
Yep.
I still believe that if you want to put in the work, you could do an all vinyl 6 minute set that would be just as good
Absolutely.
as a digital set. The only thing the digital world has done is it has kind of broken the boundaries of your creativity.
Yep.
If we had the kind of creativity that was really at its height in the mid to late 90s, combined with the technological advance that you have today, I think you would see a whole shift in the DJ culture.
Interesting. So,
Yeah,
so,
Easy says hi, by the way. Nice to see you. Greetings, Ball. Hey, too. How you doing, my man?
awesome,
He's good.
friends joining
Yeah.
us. Shout out to DJ Mark Love too, in the house. So basically, you said your friends would buy records, and you would listen to whatever fitted what you had in mind to create something. So, what age were you? How old were you at the time?
I was about 15 at the time.
So at 15, you would listen to hip hop and already kind of
Yeah, for instance, I mean, I found out pretty quickly what my favorite groups were. Like say, and mostly those were the groups that had the DJs.
right.
Like say, EPMD had DJ Scratch,
Yep.
Fresh Prince had Jazzy Jeff, Third Base had Richie Rich, Low Profile had DJ Aladdin, and Marvelous had Cash Money. All the groups that had a DJ, I kind of would get into because I would
Mm.
listen to. At the time, you had some VHS tapes that were in circulation that you could
Right.
look at for the competitions, but most of the time when somebody did a scratch, you wanted to find out what it was. You could only hear it on the record. You couldn't see it on when they were doing it, so you couldn't figure out what the hand movement was.
Mm.
So a lot of the say like the chirps or the drags or the
Transform or whatever.
yeah like the iconic ones like the Jazzy Jeff one make it sound like a bird.
Yep.
You would have to figure that out yourself by just
Sure.
listening to the records and try to duplicate it. Find that sound from Whistle. We're only bugging the
Yep.
sound, the whistle, and try to find out how he made it sound like a bird.
Mm.
And that's the thing that is good, but for the DJ standards today, is that people can actually go online and see the hand movement and
Right.
get the tutorials about how to do the cuts.
Yep.
So something that would probably take you like maybe 3 years to learn back in the 90s,
Absolutely.
you could kind of sum up within 6 months today just by being
Sure.
online.
Absolutely. Wait. You have to help me solve this mystery. You said
Okay.
you moved to Copenhagen when you were 17.
Mhm.
I asked you, you said 15 years old, I was already kind of, concepts. So wait, would you go to Copenhagen to buy records?
Yes, you take the train to Copenhagen to Street Dance Records and you come home with a bag. And a lot of the DJs that were in my hometown or back in Køge, some of them who were part of the cutting crew that I was also part of, the
Yes.
DJ culture,
Yep.
we would all share the records, obviously, but a lot of people had different tastes. And then through, kind of like today, you would share a Spotify playlist with somebody.
Right.
And they
Yeah.
would say, "Okay, I like that," and you'd get put onto new music that way, or
Sure.
if you're an old guy like me, I'm 45, you would ask your daughter, "What are you listening to?" And then she will be listening to something that I might have been listening to in the 90s, but then she'll be listening to something completely new that I think is fresh.
Right.
Back in the days, it would people will buy different stuff, and we would go to our local club where we had turntables set up,
Yep.
and a guy would play a record, and I would go, "What's that? Oh, that's Smooth the Hustler." I was like, "Oh my God, that's a great record. I'm going to have to get that next week." And then you go back into Copenhagen next week and you get that record
Wow.
because you wanted it. So the ones that you miss, most of the times, your friends would have picked them up or somebody else will put you onto it.
Mm.
And I think that's the strong focus point of hip hop being positive. is the fact that it's kind of built. You would share your ideas. Obviously, it's about being original and fresh, but
Yep.
most of the time it's also about building. You would share whatever you like with other people,
Yep.
and then if somebody would take those two records that you were juggling and do a better juggle, you would just have to face that that was a better juggle than mine. He
Mm.
used those records better.
Yep.
But you were not scared of sharing. So, and I think that's the positive for the hip hop music and the rap music compared to some of the other music genres that might have been more prohibited in
Right.
their way of sharing.
Yep. Absolutely. So, just so you know, the people who just joined us, you would basically, it would take what, an hour or two to go to Copenhagen by train.
Yeah, definitely. It took about 45 minutes an hour from Køge
So you would
to get
spend
to work.
2 hours just
Yeah,
to go buy records. That's the kind
yeah,
of motivation you had at this
yeah,
age.
yeah. I mean, obviously,
Awesome.
but the thing is, you used to travel with people. It was a posse. There was 4 or 5 of us, and we would always
Right.
talk about whatever was moving at the time.
Yep.
Not necessarily just rap music, but also just having a couple of friends that were definitely into the music, but also the culture. Some would have other things to do in Copenhagen, say
Yep.
go to Christiania and get something to smoke.
Yep.
Some would have to go in there to see, say, a girlfriend, or somebody
Hmm.
would have to stay overnight because they were out doing graffiti.
Yep.
There was a lot of reasons to go to Copenhagen.
Sure.
My main reasons were definitely to get the records, and
Yep.
then if there was like a hip hop jam, I would stay for the hip hop jam.
Is that true that during those train rides you would listen to hip hop and that's how you kind of because people know you for again the wordplay.
Yeah,
Is that where you got to listen to so much music that you could remember all the lyrics? Is that true
yeah,
during those
yeah.
train rides?
I could tell you done your homework on me. I think I
Oh, my
mentioned
friend,
that in maybe one interview before. Is that's
you
the
did
main reason that I knew a lot of the lyrics, because
awesome.
at that time you would put whatever record you had on cassette tape, put it
Yep.
in your Walkman, and you'd have two AA batteries, stick it in there, and that's kind of what your entertainment was for the hour and the hour back. So that was 2 hours of listening to rap music. At one point, I was getting an education in Nørrebro in Copenhagen, which means that I was going to Nørrebro in Copenhagen, which took me an hour and a half each way, which was 3 hours on the train every day,
Wow.
for almost a year. And in that time, I really learned to appreciate the fact that if I had a Walkman, I could listen to all the records I had.
Mm.
And I would know them by heart. I mean, most of the rap records that I've
Oh, sure.
had from back then, I could still remember all the lyrics to, say, like Daddy Rich in the Land of 1210, which I heard a bunch of times from Third Base, or Lands on a Rampage, obviously, but also obscure tracks like Millie Pull a Pistol on Santa, from Delta Soul. I mean, all these
Wow.
things you would just listen to over and over again, and then the lyrics get kind of etched into your brain,
Yep.
and it's not a bad thing to have in your brain. They're pretty
Man,
entertaining. You can fall back on.
the biggest understatement would be for me to say that, I mean, you definitely use that to your advantage because I mean, a huge part of your personality and identity as a DJ is, of course, how you were able to destroy, and I'm going to use this word, even if it's a friendly competition, but you absolutely destroyed opponents
Yeah,
with telling stories. And you come from a country which is known for fairy tales and stories. So, I mean, those train rides definitely, you use them well.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's also to me it was there's two ways you could use them. I found out pretty quickly. Like if you were in a battle where it was just one DJ against another DJ,
Yep.
you'd have, say, like maybe 10, 15 seconds to diss the other guy, and then 45, 30 seconds to do like a juggle or a scratch thing, and
Yep.
then maybe end it with a diss.
Yep.
So if you want to do a story, there has to have an intro, there has to be some meat, and an outro. And if that DJ set from 1 minute, if that could be diss the other guy, do something great, diss him
Yep.
again, be ghost,
Oh, man.
then that's a destroyer set. And
Ooh.
that's I mean that's definitely one of the ways you could use it. And then in the DMC competitions where you had 6 minutes, you can actually kind of like build a story all the
Yep.
way through.
Yep.
and which
Oh
is
man,
what I did in, I think it was, I can't remember, was it 95, 94, rated one? I think I
95.
had a, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
That was,
We'll get. Trust me. Have you know? Thank you again so much for your time. It's really an honor. But I'm getting to that competition because there's so much to talk about, and also
mhm,
since I've been watching so many of your, I'm there's gonna be some nerd questions, of course, a little bit.
mhm,
So I'm gonna ask you to, kind of dissect and help me solve some mysteries. Before we get into the competition, I would like, I have this section about your style. Every
mhm.
DJ has a specific style. And for me, um, you marveled at selection. The selection
Okay.
was always not only 12 inches, album cuts. You dig
Okay.
into the albums, and that's
Yeah, yeah.
something that, most guys, they would, of course, you used a lot of classics, Gangstar, EPMD, and everything, but you always come up with that rare joint. Everybody was like, skits, instrumental, uh, this guy right here back in 2000, you always amazed me and a lot of
Mhm.
people with just rare instrumentals that would just put people in this kind of trance, and then you would cut it up and that was over. To me, I was like, that's it, that's all I need to know about the outcome. So selection, um, the quality of the sound, the sonic quality of the records. Most DJs, a lot of DJs, you would hear, it was always clean. I was like, this guy in Denmark, they respect the, the sound quality, the sonic quality. Um, of course, before, I love you so much, respect you so much, and get into, the butterflies and all that stuff. But so the selection, the sonic quality, I would like you to talk to us about that. And of course, the wordplay, the keeping the crowd entertained. Can you talk to us about how you would define your style?
Yeah, I think the selection thing was because if you got to start at the selection, it has to do something with today when a lot of people enter competitions, you see the online competitions. Um, a lot of them haven't really actually played in front of a crowd.
Right.
They've only been in their bedroom, which is why a lot of the stuff that would work for them might not necessarily work live. Where a lot of the records I would use in competitions were records I'd played at a club and
Mm.
seen people go crazy for,
Yep.
and like the Last Emperor track or these things were things that I knew worked. So if you use records that you've seen people go crazy for in a club, and and then also have, as you said, the sonic quality, then you kind of have a good base to build from. Um, uh, the thing is, the sonic qualities had to be what you would call, say, you have to look at the quality of the vinyl as well,
Yep.
because there's say a lot of records from like Def Jam in the 80s and the start 90s. They were really good sounding, and you can also tell by just holding on to them and
Yep.
feeling their. I mean, I might actually just skip back just to tell you what I'm talking
Yes.
about because
Do it. Do it.
I might
Absolutely.
do that. It's the best. I think it's the best way to do it as well. If if
Prime
I go,
Cuts is mentioning something about of course, the 94 NMS. I'll get to that. I have a lot of questions about that. I mean, again,
holy shit,
you
Joel,
destroyed the Gentleman 8 Ball. I mean, oof, I don't know what he's doing right now, but
Joel is mentioning where I when I ended one of my sets with actually with this record, Joel.
with Rakim,
Is
right? Yeah.
That's incredible. Joel mentioned something, and I'm pulling out the exact record I used,
Wow.
which is
Yes,
the
indeed. I know you got soul.
No, You Got Soul. This is the exact record I used at the NMS. That's
Is
incredible,
that the
Joel.
one you used at
It's
the
yeah,
summit too with Mary
yeah.
J. Blige?
No, that was Move the Crowd.
Oh, that
This
was
one
Move the
was,
Crowd. You're absolutely
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
This one was that's incredible. Joel mentioned something, and it's the first record that sticks out. I
Awesome.
think
Incredible.
I think I might have to get catch up with Joel sometime soon.
Yes, indeed, my friend.
We might be on
Yes.
wavelengths. Here's one of the records that we can talk about. Not because it's one of the records I used. I mean, actually, the guy that used this one to the best of his abilities
Yep.
is was Mixmaster Mike. He used this original concept record in I think it was in '93 on Def Jam, original concept. Can you
Yep.
feel it?
Can you feel
And
it?
when he
Yep.
used, yeah, and he would scratch the ending of another Def Jam record, which was LL Cool J's Jack the Ripper. That stops
Mm.
with Cool J saying a cappella. He's saying, "When I'm rocking the mic, people stop and stare at," and then it stops, and he would scratch people stop and stare at, and then backspin it to Mike. And Mike used to do that
Wow.
on this record, and then you can see the quality of this vinyl is just it's so thick,
Yep.
and it feels good. It doesn't snap when it's kind of it's not like a old vinyl record that would snap.
Yep.
It's I don't know what they put in these records, but these Def Jam records were just incredible, and because they were so good and the grooves were so deep, the sonic quality that you spoke about is something
Yep.
that you would always get from these Def Jam records. And then
Wow.
also another good label was Jive. Jive always had great quality records.
True. Yep.
And then also I think not necessarily Fourth and Broadway, which had the old Prism records, Prism with which had all the Bismarck Key, Picking Boogers,
Yes.
and
Cold chilling.
yeah, Cold Children
Yep.
records. All these were some of the records that you would look for because they have great sonic quality.
Absolutely.
And I think that's also sums up why I would pick those records. So
I'm
not all
not
the time.
surprised. You could hear because it's something. I don't know if the DMC engineers, sound engineers, were great because I saw it on the tape, so the sound was what it was. But I really noticed that you, Crazy B2, somebody come from France, a huge influence for me. You really paid attention to the sonic quality of the records, and that's something I really appreciated.
Yeah, and then also you'd have to trust the DMC people. That's one thing that I actually also did. I can't remember the name of this guy who worked at DMC for all these years, but he
Uh-huh.
was always there in the competitions. He had gray hair, and always, wearing like a DMC or a Technics T-shirt. And he was always
Right.
the technician, and most of the time also the guy that gave you like the 1 minute warning.
Yep.
And I could always see him when he was setting up the stuff for the next TJ. In my case, it was me that was going on. I would just completely try not to redline the mixer. Just make sure you don't get any red lights,
Yep.
because if you don't do that, he's going to make sure that people hear it. I mean,
Right.
you don't have to turn it all the way up. You just turn the way. So if he's got a good signal to work with,
Yep.
trust the engineer, and the engineer will make your set sound good.
Mm.
And that's what I did most of the time. Just try
Yep.
to be as gentle with the volume as I could. And where a lot of the other DJs, they would kind of crank it. And
I'm
I
not
try to stay
surprised.
away. Try to stay away from that.
Man, thank you. Man, you showing the record. I mean, this is stuff of legend right here. I have goosebumps. Trust me. I'm trying to. So let's get to the juicy stuff. Let's get to the competitions. Before we
Okay.
get into the international, you going to New York and all that stuff. Can you briefly talk to us about your national journey in Denmark?
Yeah, I mean, I started, very young, just, scratching at the youth club, but then I pretty quickly, I was in the middle of an education, kind of like, kind of figuring out which way to go. And I remember getting my first turntable and really just spending a religious amount of time just scratching, trying to learn all the scratches that were on the records upstairs with one Technics 1200, a shitty mixer I bought from some sound quality magazine in Germany. And because I'd had taken a evening class in soldering, I put the mixer together myself. Like
Wow.
you got it as parts.
Crazy.
And then I had a shitty turntable on the other side. So on my left-hand side, I would have a shitty turntable playing an instrumental, and then I would have the mixer, and then I would have my Technics on the right-hand side. And that's when I learned how to scratch a lot. And then my mother could kind of see that, okay, he really does this a lot. I mean, even though he does all his homework and he turns in all his papers and does all the chores he needs to do, this is what he does. He gets
Right.
up in the morning, he scratches, takes the dog for a walk, has some breakfast, he scratches. He goes to school, he comes home, he does his homework, he scratches. He comes down, he has dinner, he goes to basketball practice, he comes back home, he scratches. He just does it all the time. So she got me my second turntable, and then I started working on both turntables. Eventually, I got my DMC mixer, and about 6 months later, I entered my first regional finals here which is, at the time, they would have 3 preliminary finals in
Right.
Denmark, and the top 3 from each one would go through. So I won the one here in Copenhagen in '92.
92. Big
Yeah,
year
in
for your
92.
country.
Yeah. We won
Big
the
year for your country. You won the European Cup.
Championship.
Yes, my friend.
European Cup, and we also actually just won the handball World Championship
You
tonight.
did. That's right. Back to back.
Over
Wow.
Sweden.
Awesome. Yep.
It's funny. Such a small country can keep on delivering world, class.
You're the Vikings. You guys, you've been successful since thousands of years.
It might be the
Traveling
Viking
world.
blood. Yeah.
Yes,
It might be
absolutely.
the Viking blood. But yeah, but in '92, 3 guys, one from North Jylland, one from the middle of Jylland, and 3 from each semifinal will go to the finals, and then it would be last year's champion trying to defend his title.
Yep.
So I won the regionals, but in the Danish championships, I only came third. And it kind of showed me that, 2 things in one at once, that I could beat a lot of the guys out there, but I could also get beat. So it showed me that it's possible to do it, but it's also possible to lose.
Right.
And I think that was a very valuable lesson to have at such an early age, because that meant the next year when I went in as a team with the cutting crew,
Yep.
we practiced. Getting 3 guys together to practice for so many hours, and having to spar with original hip hop legend DJ from here in Denmark who helped us, a guy called DJ Typhoon. That kind of showed me that, okay, if you put enough time into it, because then we won the Danish championships, we went to the world finals, and we came third. It kind of showed me that, okay, it is possible. It can be done. And then obviously that the next summer there in '94, I went to New York and I won the NMS. So
Yes.
it was a rapid ascension, but also mainly because, and I've said this many times before, I'm not afraid to say it again, mainly because we had so many good DJs in Denmark.
That's something I wanted to ask you. The competition, seemed to be pretty good.
Yeah,
You had some good competition.
Yeah, the amount of people that I can mention in Denmark that would have done just equally as well internationally as I've done is there was obviously Cutfather did well. We had Soul Shock, we had TNT, we had Ken the Duke, we had my peers, DJ Knud, DJ Ugalus, DJ Static, DJ Shine,
Right.
a guy called One Time, a guy called DH, who was at the time was also active, Typhoon. There's so many people. Yeah, and the guy who's actually, funny enough, one of my best friends was also still active and finally became Danish champion, a guy called Needle Split, Tom from up north Jylland. He was the Danish champion. He'd be going forever. And I think the mass of talent in Copenhagen, or not in Copenhagen, in Denmark, that I just happened to be the best of them, that really kind of pushed me to be the best on a couple of occasions in the world then.
Wow. So you enjoy, a lot of successes in Denmark as far as competition goes. Also, you said that, you got beat, so it helped you kind of, feel, the level and the improvement maybe you felt you needed to add to your skill set. So I have Denmark champion. This is what it says on Wikipedia, so it might be wrong, but 93, 94, 95, 96, and 2000 as far as the Denmark championships.
That's right.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
So you had 93, 94, 95, 96. That's back to back to back to back.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
that's a pretty incredible achievement. And 94 is an incredible year because, of course, the NMS, New Music Seminar. And I've been wanting to ask you that. Was it the first time you went to the United States?
No, actually, it was the year before. I was over trying to get into the new music seminar,
Mm-hmm.
and and um and I went up to talk to Clark Kent because I'd sent him my tape,
Right.
and he said
Wow.
he never heard of me, so he never got the tape for some reason. I don't know where it got lost in the mail. He said, try again next year. You might get in.
You sent it through the mail.
Yeah, that's for Clark Kent. It got
Awesome.
lost. Something got lost.
Yep.
But I mean, I didn't know at the time that you kind of had to have some correspondence with them. I just sent them a tape,
Yep.
and I was going to New York anyway, so I went to New York with DJ Knut, and I brought my sister along and a friend and a couple of people
Yep.
to see if I can get into the competition, um, and I didn't get in. Obviously, he said he never got my tape. Try again next year. And a friend of mine who's now passed on, Jeppe JB Bisgaard here from Denmark, a very good friend of mine, he helped me make sure through his office, he was working at a record company,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that there was some mail correspondence, so I knew I had gotten into the
Mm.
competition when I finally went over there in '94.
So that 94 was your second trip to New York?
That's right. Yeah, that was my second time, and yeah, I was there with the other Danish DJ at the time,
Yep.
who was a good friend of mine, and also and we would trade, secrets and
Mm.
routines and stuff all the time. DJ Knut, who was also over there with me.
Yep. So you get to New York. I mean, I remember the first time I went to New York, of course.
Hmm.
Europeans, we are amazed by the heights,
Yeah,
the size.
yeah,
The do
yeah,
you remember? Out of curiosity, do you remember which hotel did you stay at?
yeah. I remember in '93 I stayed at the Sheraton, no, the
Mm-hmm.
Richmond, in front of Madison Square Garden. But in '94, my friend Typhoon, who took us over there
Yep.
for the competition, DJ Typhoon, we had a friend who lived out in New Orleans Avenue out in Brooklyn. So
Yep.
we stayed with him for a while. Hans, who's still my friend today.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was a whole different experience. I mean, one thing was staying in
Right.
Manhattan, and it was a
Yep.
big hotel, and the elevators, and you see all the avenues and the greatness of America, which is
Yep.
an incredible country. But then coming over there the year after in '94, staying in Brooklyn was just the
Interesting.
dream.
Where was the competition?
Competition was, I think it was in the Sheraton Hotel's ballroom in 1994. Yeah,
So in Manhattan.
in Manhattan. Yeah, yeah.
So
I
you
mean,
would
there was
take the
also,
train. Awesome.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We took the train all the way from New Lights Avenue. Me, DJ Knut, DJ Typhoon.
Man, Brooklyn
He
in
was,
94. Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Woo.
He was kind of my big brother, Typhoon. Taking care of me and DJ Knut, both with our record bags, going to the competition. And
Yep.
then I happened to be the guy who won it. I mean, it could have easily just have been him. But we were both ready for that competition. We knew what it kind of took, and we knew that it didn't. We shouldn't get scared. A
Right.
lot of people would get nervous because the
Sure.
crowd was merciless in New
Of
York at the
course.
time. If you weren't doing good, they would boo
Right.
you.
Sure.
And that was the thing, that if you came from Europe and you were in a competition, you didn't hear boos. If somebody didn't do well, people would just be silent.
That's not our style. Yeah.
Yeah, in New
Yeah.
York they would boo you,
Yep.
and they booed us in the beginning. Both me and him. I mean, we got
They did.
booed a lot. Yeah, yeah. They would
Interesting.
yell funny little, stuff like I was completely remember. I mean, very vividly remember them. People yelling, "Get DJ Milkbone off the stage."
Wow.
Yeah, but the thing is, then you do well. You do something that's good, something that's dope, and then you
Yes.
earn their respect. And the
Yep.
boos kind of die out, and they
Sure.
kind of they kind
They
of
love you
realize,
after that.
okay, we might have to stop booing this guy because he might go on and win the entire thing.
Mm.
So you kind of win them over, and that's the
Yep.
thing, that if you could do that in, say, NYC, you can do that pretty much anywhere.
Man, you definitely got the playground 90s New York treatment, which is we keep it real, We
Yeah,
all know
yeah,
you. You're from Europe. We kind of, But
yeah.
if you show that you belong, then you get the respect. And I'm sure for you, it must have been incredible to hang out with the legends, to hang out with fellow incredible DJs, and to get the respect from the birthplace of hip hop. I mean,
Oh, it was an incredible experience, and also just the vibe of it all. I always talk to people about that time with a specific fondness because at that time, the middle '90s, hip hop was really coming into its right. I mean, the creativity was at such a high point. Like
yep,
RZA was doing some of his best production work. Like Nas's Illmatic was coming out.
whew,
You know, I was standing
golden
at
age.
I was standing at Rocksteady Park up north, just watching Brand Nubian on stage, and a
Wow.
guy next to me says, "Oh, congratulations on yesterday," and I look at him and I go, "Oh, thank you. What's your name?" And he looks at me and he goes, "They call me Extra P." So it was large professor standing next to me. It's like it's the amount of after the competition,
Yep.
Puffy and his friends were running around handing out Craig Mack 12 inches. Their Great New Hope Craig Mack, and then
Yep.
also some 12 inches by this guy, Notorious B.I.G., who they were betting on
Wow.
to have to do well with his new single Juicy,
Man.
and Serge had his new signing sitting in a car outside, and he gave me a couple 12 inches, and it was OC, who just came out with Time's Up.
Oh man.
So I mean,
Woof.
these are some of the things that a lot of people say. Why don't you spend too much time out and about anymore? Because as you said, when you were trying to describe me, the rarely seen DJ Noize, it's because I think I've seen it all, and
Oh,
I'm happy with what I've experienced. There's
you
still
lived the
some
golden
nights,
age.
yeah, and there's
Yep.
still some nights that I really enjoy. Like I really enjoy some of the gigs that I go to, but
Right.
most of the time I'm kind of well. This isn't
Yep.
exactly watching Rakim in Harlem.
I
It's
feel you
this is
100%.
so it's some of the artists that are out there today. When you watch them on stage, some of them really nail it. But I think
Sure.
there was a big bunch in the middle in the '90s that were all really really good. Like
Yep.
you could mention all the you know from Nas to obviously to, I mean, all the way up to, so many of the classic '90s stuff that was a big meaty center of the steak.
Sure.
Where today there's two extremes. There's either the really shitty ones that are all about promotion on social media and not enough
Yep.
content. I mean, not
Yep.
enough meat on the bone. And
Yep.
then there's the middle ones that try to struggle and get through without doing too well. And then there's the huge artists that
Yep.
are also incredible live, like Kendrick and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Cold.
Sure.
So I think if you could kind of take that end of the steak that's really meaty, like the J. Coles and the Kendricks and all
Yep.
those people, and then spread it
Yep.
out to the rest of the community, then we'll be back on track.
Well, Prime Cuts, the legendary DJ Prime Cuts was. You can read the comment. Yes, it cannot be overstated how much of an achievement it was for you to win the NMS. And
Oh, thanks, Joel.
I watched the entire competition. That again, 8 Ball. I don't know what he's doing right now. If he still has nightmares about this competition. But
I don't
to be
know.
honest, from a musical standpoint, competition standpoint, I know it's friendly and everything, but you want to destroy the guy during the 1 minute that you have. I mean, I could watch the people behind you. There were people behind you as you were doing your thing. And then, I mean, the smiles, the excitement that you created was just phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Probably one of the greatest DJ battle moments of all time when it comes to, you were always part of some of the greatest moments like that. So
Well, I gotta say, I do appreciate the words, and I also appreciate the fact that Joe says it can't be overstated how much of an achievement it was. But to me, it was more of a just the sheer fact of the DJs that were coming out at the time, that golden era. To me, that's it's really what set the bar for the
right.
DJ culture to move so much forward for the
Yep.
next couple of years.
Yep.
I mean, who knew A-Track would be up there 15 years old, kicking everybody's ass? A
97.
couple of years later.
Yep.
Yeah, who knew that? The allies and the perverts would form a crew and
Yep.
completely annihilate. I mean, so many great things happened afterwards. Like the first, the record with Mike and Q, the record they did with the routine, the Scratch Pickles against was it called the Invisible Flying Saucers or some shit? Cubert always got the crazy fucking names. The record that came out with them doing was actually like a proper first turntable record with them playing all the instrument as turntables. There were
I
so
forgot the
many.
name of it, but I probably
Yeah,
have
but you
it
know
on.
which one you
Yes,
know which one I'm talking about when you hear
incredible
it. But
routines. Yeah, yeah, sure.
so many things came out, like Revolution's album, which to me I
Ooh.
still religiously hear.
Oh,
And
yes.
so not just the Clams of Death. Thank you very much. I'm crazy.
There you go. Yep.
Visible Scratch Pickle versus the Clams of Death.
ISPs. Yep.
Yeah, ISPs. And to me, so it wasn't just the DJ competitions, and I definitely appreciate Joel's sentiment about how much of an achievement it was winning, but all the things that happened right after, like the table turns events, the ITF, and the
Yep.
all those things coming about. That was to me, that was just kind of what I did. I guess in '94 was just the beginning of it. I mean,
Oh,
that was
absolutely.
just
But you. I mean, um, still, you are very humble, and as a fan and as somebody who admires you, I can tell you that you were part of some of the most legendary moments of this art form. And it's again truly an honor. Maybe you can help me solve a mystery. On the
Mhm.
DMC World, on the website, there's a list with all the winners. And in 94, there's nothing. It goes from 93 to 95.
that's because there's 2 years there was 1 year where it skipped, and I think that was because they put '94 together with '95. It's one or the other. Or else they put '93 together with '94.
So it's not a mistake. There was a skip. There's
Yeah,
something
which is also why when you were reading my
interesting.
Danish competition, the '94,
Accolades.
yeah, accolades, it's actually only three Danish national titles back to back. It's not
Ah,
four, because two of the
interesting.
years were put together. But that was the 1 year where I then went to New York. So
Interesting.
I found something else to do
Wow.
that year.
Because 95, I mean, 95, you came second after the late, great, legendary Rock Raider, with whom I think you built a friendship, right? Before that.
Me and Anthony were real close. Yeah, yeah. He came, it started out kind of how would you call it? He beat me in London, and I didn't think at that time that he could. I thought that he was. To tell you the truth, I thought he was over the hill. I thought I'd seen the best out of him, and so
Right.
when I went to London at the Hippodrome, I thought it was kind of in the bag,
Mm,
And then he did an incredible performance. He beat me, and the year later, we'd already talked at some point, on the phone a couple of times, and I spoke to him. I said, "Listen, you're the defending champion in Rimini.
yep.
I got a disc for you." And he says, "Go ahead and do it." And he knew. I mean, he was so New York. He knew the rules of the competition.
Yep.
He knew that if you had a target on you, that you were going to get dissed by somebody. So when I did the Rock Raider disc, there was no bad blood afterwards at all. We were just still friends. And he's the one DJ that truly got it. I still believe that. I don't know if 8 Ball took it personally in at the NMS, but it kind of felt like some of the DJs, also maybe Lazy K or whatever, but
Right.
it felt like some of the DJs took the disses personally, and I never took anything personal on the stage. It was completely business, even if somebody disses me.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's what you put on stage, you leave it there, and then you get off. And if you like the
Absolutely.
person, if you feel like you can gain something from knowing that person, you'll continually have a friendship. And
Yep.
that's what I built with Anthony. He came to Copenhagen, stayed in my apartment. I would buy him vitamin C when he had a cold, and stuff like that. It was always love. And whenever he came over with the executioners,
Yep.
it was always love. It's one of the most saddest parts of my life is when we lost
Mm,
him.
wow.
I feel like we buried way too many people these past couple of years anyway, but he will truly forever be missed, and his legacy will live
Sure.
on forever through his friends like Rob
Absolutely.
and Joey and those. guys, and of course Eclipse also.
Well, thank you for the beautiful words. A true gentleman, innovator, and somebody that's definitely always missed every year. The good friends, Redmatic, Mr. Chuck, Babu, everybody, they always, pay tribute. And just an incredible, legendary DJ. But to add on what our friend, I don't know how to pronounce, SEZ says 712 just said, he said that I still feel strongly that you had the best set in 95. And honestly, my friend, I watched your set again in 95. And in some regards, it's as good, if not better, from a DMC judging standpoint than your 96 performance. You had the Duda James beat juggling with the top billing, which was, just straight up classic. It sounded huge. Can you tell me about? Can you talk to us about also your statement about body tricks being kind of ridiculous? Because because Rock Radar was a lot into the body trick stuff.
No, he was very much a conveyor of the body tricks, especially at the time, and I was very much an opponent to the body tricks.
Yep.
When they later on started incorporating the body tricks into the juggles, that's when it became. I started really respecting the body tricks more, because that shows you that you can not only juggle, but you could juggle with all types of parts of your body. And that has something to do with showmanship when you're watching it. Right. But at the time, I felt like, well, if all you're doing with body tricks is just, spin backs faster and faster while you do it with different body parts.
Yep.
If you listen back to that without watching it, then what are you going to get out of it? So I felt if that's what he's doing, that's what I'm going to have to diss. So I used, I think it was a Beatnut song where I said something about all that stuff don't impress me.
Yep.
And then I changed it.
Beatnuts? Yep.
Yeah, that's a Beatnuts record.
Yep.
And I chained it together with, I definitely think that was if I remember correctly, it was a Beatnuts and it was EPMD. No, not EPMD, PMD.
PMD.
The PMD saying something about that's not hip hop. Wow. It's a fashion show.
Yes.
And then into
Gangsta.
Gur's Jazzmatazz.
Oh, Jazzmatazz.
Where he says, take a look at yourself. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And to me, that was kind of my style. Stringing together something about that sucks because it's a fashion show. Now take a look at yourself, and it's ridiculous.
Yep.
But what he did was just his style. And that time, it was Sub Typhoon. Sonny's in the house. One of my friends.
Yes, I saw your friend.
Legendary DJ Typhoon.
By the way, is the one who told you to use? Tell me if I'm correct me if I'm wrong. Is the one who told you to use the Duda James record because it sounded bigger, right?
That's right. That's Typhoon. We were going through all the different records that we had to, because I came up with Top Billing Juggle. We was just basically using Impeach the President, and I could have used Impeach the President, which was the classic that everybody was using. Everybody was using at the time, right. And I could on the last part of the breakdown, obviously coming from a drummer standpoint, Joel will know what I'm talking about since he's still viewing us. Yep. You could do the ladies and gentlemen and then backspin, so it goes gentlemen, gentlemen.
Yep.
Like DJ Scratch would do in Scratch of Got to Give the People. We're getting really nerdy here, and I could do that in the middle of the Top Billing Juggle. Or I could use the part where they're using Impeach the President in Big Daddy Kane's Smooth Operator. The Impeach the President beat starts and Big Daddy Kane says, step up to this. Now girls step up to this.
Right.
And I could do the juggle and then I could put step up to this.
Yep.
Into the middle of it. And I was thinking maybe I could do that. But then Typhoon actually listened to all the three different ones. The Impeach the President, the Smooth Operator from Kane, and the Do the James, and he said, listen, whatever you do, people are going to just focus on it being the top billing beat. Use the record that sounds the best, and Typhoon said, Do the James is the hardest drums. So that's why I chose that.
Definitely.
And once again, we're talking about sonic quality like you spoke on earlier, so
yes.
I had a bit of sparring from that.
It sounded huge. Even when you watch it on a poor quality YouTube, it's pretty good. Actually, quality is pretty good, but much better than the NMS. But you can hear the echo and the crowd. You can almost visualize how it sounded back then. And I truly feel that in 95, I'm not going to go into the judges, New York, whatever it is, because Rock Radar, rest his soul, legend, and plus your friendship. But I truly think that 95, you had fantastic set. Fantastic set.
I really did enjoy my set in '95, but the fact is just that whatever the way the chips fell, Raider did like a backwards juggle with Eric B for president.
He did, yeah.
He did the no look and then pointed the record with the question remains. He
Yes,
did
I got
the
to have
juggle.
it.
Yeah, I got to have a juggle. He did so many
Fantastic.
things.
Yep.
He did so many things that were just very DJ oriented.
Do you think you could have added some jugglings to your performance?
I could have focused a little bit more on maybe another part. I mean, put something else in there. Maybe there was too many words. I mean, I don't know where that quote comes from. Some record where, some movie where somebody says too many big words. There
Or
might
too
have been
many notes,
words.
like Mozart, Amadeus?
Yeah, maybe it was just too intricate. I don't know, but I know that I really did feel like me and Raider was definitely neck to neck, but he did win, and there's nothing I could do to change that.
Right.
And there's nothing that would ever do to soil his legacy. He will forever be the '95 champion.
100%. That being said, 96, you came back. Did he? I don't think he defended his title, Rock Radar, in 96.
He was there.
He was there?
Yeah.
He was,
and he had a terrible mistake. Where he slapped one of the arms across the record. And when he did it, I watched his face. He went like, and I knew, he knew he lost something at that time. I mean, he knew it probably wasn't the best of going to be the best of results.
But you came back in 96 with
Yom said
similar...
he did defend. He did, yeah, he did
Oh,
defend.
he did
That's
defend.
right.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the... I was unsure. You did come back in 96 with kind of a similar structure of your 95 set. This juggle with Biggie. Then you added something I never seen you do before. I mean, was the juicy routine with the tone. I think that really kind of... I mean, you tell me. You came up with this idea. So why do you think you felt it was important for you to maybe create a melody or do something maybe from the skill standpoint a little more advanced?
I'll actually tell you that it was who was in the chat now. Typhoon is also in the chat. Also, by the way, big ups to Freestyle, and thanks, Yom. He got third. Rock Raider defended. Thank you.
Oh,
that's right. He got third. Second was Tommy from Japan, I think. I might not be correct, but I think so.
Yep.
The thing that happened with that routine was, once again, Typhoon was in the chat, told me, like, listen, you just got to do a couple of different things that are genius. I mean, I had a lot of genius word things. I had a lot of genius, say, melody things like the Big Papa, and also had more juggles than Josie, and I also had, more scratches like the Nuclear scratch.
Woo.
But he said, use a couple of the things that you feel are the strongest and then put them together into a cohesive thing. And it can't be too complex. It can't be too complex.
Yep.
He told me, like, listen, I feel like, because I would switch out parts and he would say, no, start with that and then go into that. And then maybe you should do this and this and that. I mean, like, do a juggle here. And I said, what about this one? He said, not that one, that one. And then, he kind of, it was kind of like I had a big jigsaw puzzle. He knew all my routines and he would vibe with me. He actually went with me to Rimini when I won in 96. And then he kind of sparred with me like you would have a coach if you're a boxer, and kind of let me know that he said that I feel like this is a strong shot. I wanted to use something else than the New Claus Jam on Revenge Scratch, but he said no, it's a good one because it's not you're just coming from, like, say, Biggie, and you also did you're coming from a juicy juggle, and you also did the tone with the Big Papa thing, and you had some words in there.
Method Man.
Yeah, the Method Man stuff. It's been so hip hop. If you put on like a New Claus record and do those kind of cuts that you like to do, that's going to switch up the whole style of the routine. It's going to be, it could well go down in history as like one of the classics, and then it
Absolutely.
did. So
brief story about this. Since we're on the nucleus, very brief story. I had, I worked with Cosmo D from Nucleus, Egyptian Lover. We did a track together on Egyptian Lover previous album, 1985. And this is a gentleman, his wife, just wonderful, wonderful people. I always loved Nucleus. And we had a conversation on Instagram as well. And I told him that I fell in love with Nucleus because of you. Because when I heard this song right here, and there was no Shazam, there's no, you know, what is, I lost my mind when I heard you scratch on the wiki song, the Jam on Revenge. And then, you know, maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years later, I went to London. I saw a record. It was not the Sony View. It was the Caliber, the UK label.
Yep. The UK
and I
label,
saw wiki something. I was like, oh, I must be close. Came home, boom.
Put it on.
And to this day, this song is, you know, Nucleus to me is, you know, and I'm so glad that you added this electro, because it's a one of a kind electro record because it had a slap bass.
Yeah.
And by the way, Cosmo Didi told me that it was a synth bass, but, you know, it ended up being a slap bass, you know, crazy stories. So that was just my little, you know, kind of nerd story about Nucleus. But 96, you had I mean, everybody says an incredible, clean, just, I mean, you know, it really felt like you've reached, you know, at that time, correct me if I'm wrong, but you really felt like you've reached a level of confidence, a level of just, you know, like you could see on your face that it was the year, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I knew everything I was doing, and I also had the kind of attitude that, well, this is what I'm gonna do. It's not like I'm not gonna change out anything in the last minute. I've practiced that routine over and over again for a long time.
Yep.
And I also, I see Typhoon saying he was a judge in '96 at the World Championship. The thing is, they didn't count his vote on me. So that was, whatever. He couldn't vote for me,
right?
But he didn't know that. So, you know, they couldn't count his vote on me. So I actually won the '96 without a vote, missing a vote actually. So that's kind of funny. But the whole thing about putting in an electro aspect of it was also just, if you look back, a lot of the classics like Breaker's Revenge or Futura 2000, all those things. If you take those sonic sounds today and, you know, you can throw them on a trap beat and it will still be a banging track. Ooh. And that's, I mean, you know, it's, for instance, you know, like imagine a chopped and screwed version of, I don't know, you know, Looking for the Perfect Beat. That would still be incredible. Yep. And so that's what, I think that's, once again, as you spoke about, the sonic qualities of it. If you have a record that has sonic qualities that will work live, then it doesn't matter what kind of version it is. It kind of goes back to the songwriting. Like, you're a piano player yourself. If a song can be sung and played with just a piano and a voice, or just a guitar and a voice, you can produce that as big as you want or as small as you want. But if it has a proper bass, like if it's a strong melody point, if it's a strong sonic point, then, you know, you're going to get pretty far once you get to the studio. And that's basically how I would do a DJ routine. If you pick solid records, you will have a solid routine.
Absolutely. And you know, since the legendary Prime Cuts is in the house, and he's a huge drum machine and synth guy, just the 808, just the sound, the pure sound of the 808 on a big system is always going to work, you know. And working with an Egyptian lover who was the king of the 808, you know, that's his drum machine since 1983. Every time live, he cranks up the decay, and then, I mean, people just go crazy, whether it's they're 13 years old, 18 years old, 60 years old. You know, there's something special about that drum machine. So whenever, because you put a lot of electro records in your sets. Because you like to cut on the fast up-tempo beats too. I noticed a lot of stabs. I mean, to this day, when I watch your 95, 96, I'm like, what more can you do? Yes, there's tons of techniques today. I mean, talking about one of the most skilled scratch DJs in the world, Prime Cuts in the house. He's done things in Paris. I saw him. I was like, these people, they come from a different planet, right? This is not human. This is, you know. But with you, as you said in the beginning, people might not you as a strictly scratch DJ, but what you do extremely well, and it's always melodic and funky. And I'm like, if I can be as good as Noize, I'm good. I can sleep well at night, honestly.
Well, that's I think that was the way I think it was Babu who described me as it's not like if you were like a video game character. He said it wasn't like you were 100% in two areas and then 60% in the three others.
Yep.
It's like you were 90% in all the areas. He said it's kind of
Well,
like, you know, you're between 85 and 90% in all areas, and that becomes like a strong all-around character. I think we were talking about it backstage when he was in Copenhagen with Dilated, and
right.
I thought that was a
Wow.
pretty good way to sum it up.
Yep.
Also because we were talking about chops, and when you scratch, you know, about, you know, the style, you can come up with you know, a bunch of different styles,
Yep.
and to me, Babu has always been one of the guys that, you know, when he did cuts on records, that you just always look forward to that next Dilated album,
Yep.
to hear whatever
Same.
he was coming up with,
Yep.
and you always enjoyed playing with him, because if you were like on like a 4 turntable thing with him or something like that, you would always put an instrumental section just to watch what he was doing his cuts.
Yep.
With the chops, you know, all the chops that he had, it was just you could tell he was from an era where he had listened to all the same DJs I'd listened to. And
Absolutely.
I think that's very important, that you have that kind of, you know, you don't have to be 100% scratching. Like Qbert is 100%. He's not 100%. He's fucking 500% scratching.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you know, you don't have to be 100% and 100% juggling or whatever. It's not good to just be really good at one thing. But if you could be kind of almost really good at everything, then you
Yep.
have a
All around.
have a good shot at, yeah, all
All
around.
around. You
And that's
know,
and I
like absolutely.
Prime Cuts has mentioned that he's working on a new version of Looking for a Perfect Read. Yeah, that's great.
Yes. Yeah.
I've seen Joel start up the old SP12
Did you
as
hear to
well.
his? Did you listen to his the records that he put out? Joel, I'm so sorry, my friend. I have a mental. What's the name of the label with your friend and the records? You put out some electro records. I saw that at Phonica Records, and with the handmade artwork and all that stuff. I mean, if you can, I forgot the name of, but he put out some incredible records too. So you know, and talking about somebody who is a genius with drum machines and synth and all that stuff. So I'm all about that, you know, that stuff too. So 96, you're on top of the world. You're the number one in the world, the greatest turntablist in the world. Hardworking families. Thank you so much, my friend. If you have
Mm.
copies left, I send you some money right now in pounds or dollars, whatever currency, because dope stuff and beautiful artwork that handmade is done. Beautiful. So 96, you're on top of the world. I assume that just the DMC did a lot for you in terms of when you came back to Denmark, opportunities, professional opportunities, radio, because that's where you kind of 97. I think you started the radio show, right?
Yeah, I started working on a hip hop radio show in Denmark. I had that for 10 years. I was
Yep.
kind of like the hip hop. Uh, I was always a part of a different. There was a channel called P3,
Yep.
and I was always kind of like having a hip hop show there, and I did that for 10 years. And at which time I had a studio technician or an engineer called Peter Thorneman,
Mm-hmm.
Swedish guy, who taught me all about sonics and acoustics and stuff. So while I had kind of like, after stopping the competitions, I started, you know, composing for different things, messing up with drum machines, and then also trying to kind of start up on the side the corporate aspect of working. So, you know,
Right.
trying to, anything I could get my hands on that I could do music for, I would do it, but not necessarily hip hop, because
Yep.
hip hop would it was kind of hard to pay the bills for the only hip hop, and I was always out playing gigs, you know, playing other people's music. So I would do like music for commercials, documentaries, anything I could
Hmm.
get my hands on. Also because I was part of Denmark's radio, so it was easy to get my foot inside the door.
Sure.
And I've continued to do that ever since. And then, you know, being on top of the world goes a long way when you got 2 world titles to fall back on. Even today, with all the influences and the so me and whatever, if somebody wants to put up a flyer saying two-time world champion, that weighs a lot. And it's not lying. I was definitely a two-time world champion, and it's not because I've gotten worse since. I still spend an hour every day on the turntables. I still stay sharp.
Yep. Yep.
I don't come up with new. I'm not the guy who comes up with, like, say, a new scratch routine or a new technique or anything like that. But I try to learn all the new ones to come out and stay updated.
And I think it's something you said in the previous interview. I think it was either with Beatbox Extraordinaire, Kila Kela from the UK, or maybe the other interview you said that you and Cash Money, another legend, one of my all-time favorites, you were the only two DJs, correct me if I'm wrong, who won the NMS and the DMC World. Is
That's
that
right.
the first
That's
true
right.
statement?
Yeah,
So,
that's right. Me and Cash were the only first, the two first, are the only ones to win them. I mean, Mike won the DMC as well as the NMS, but he was in the crew. So
right.
Mike kind of technically also did it.
Yes.
But
As a solo,
as a solo
yes.
DJ,
Yep.
me and Cash is the only ones to ever do it.
Right.
And big shout out to Cash. He's like the godfather of everything. Him and Jeff.
We have to briefly talk about him again. Thank you. I mean, I'm honored that you giving me so much time. You tell me when you need to do your. But
It's a Sunday evening. I have a pot of tea, and the lights are dimmed. Everything's cool.
Awesome, man. This is, trust me, I'm so much respect for you guys, and Prime Cuts in the house. I mean, what more can I ask? Before I go to 2000, because to close that competition section, you did come back in 2000. Before I go to 2000, 96, you did the summit in Italy.
That's right.
With all the champions, A-Track, Cash was there, Qbert was there, Rock Radar was there, Cut Master Swift, of course, the legendary Tony Prince, who, I mean, seems to be a super nice guy, and maybe you confirm. But I want to ask you about, you did a routine with a Mob Dip instrumental, God Part 3, something like that, right. I think, okay. Yeah. And then at the time, the Technics mixer became the GMC mixer. It was no longer the PMX, whatever, Gemini, whatever brand it was.
PMX02, yeah.
And you came up with, because Cash Money in 88, he used that same sample, which was Doogie Fresh. Yeah, Doogie Fresh. Play this only at night, right?
That's correct.
You came up with the Mob Deep, and then you look, he was right behind you, looking into his records and was getting ready for his set. And then you were like, Cash, I got something for you. So can you what was the story?
Well, it was kind of like an homage to Cash, because this was what I had been growing up listening to.
Yep.
He started the Dougie Fresh record and Play This Only at Night, and he would scratch the beginning of Shan and Let the Music Play, where it has a backwards synth, and he goes
swoosh sound,
swoosh sound.
Yeah.
He used that swoosh sound, and I thought when I heard Mobb Deep, the God Part 3 remix come out, and it had like that sample in it, the Dougie Fresh, I said, listen, when I'm going to the summit, I'm not competing, but I'm doing the summit, and Cash is going to be there. I gotta pay homage to him. So that's when I put on the instrumental, and when it came to the part where the Play This Only at Night sample started, I would do the scratch that he did, and then I would do some other scratches, just like, I guess, some forward and backwards flares, and then the isolator scratch when you at the Technics mixer, if you took all, it went to minus 24 on the bass, and
filter,
then also filter, and also minus 24 on the high.
Yep.
So if you took the bass off and you only scratch using the high, it became like a wah-wah pedal, like a crybaby.
Absolutely. You came up with this idea, right?
Yeah, I found that out myself.
That's the first time I heard
quickly.
that type of sound.
I mean, it was basically, I came up with it because I thought that, I think I'd been to the Fresh 97 at that time. I think I've heard somebody scratch that way. Either was either it was Qbert with the PMC, the '05 Vestax, and then he
Yep.
had like a pedal, or the
Interesting.
record had come out, the Clams of Death record, or he'd done it on a mixtape, the Pumpkin Squeeze music, or it was Mike on his Terrorist.
Ooh, it could be, I
One
could
of
see
those
Mike.
four, yeah, one of those four places I've heard somebody using like a wah-wah pedal, and I
Yes.
didn't know it was a wah-wah pedal, so I thought it was the
Ah.
mixer. So by the time I got that mixer, I,
Well, Crazy
I
we had did this kind of similar type of sound. Yeah, I remember in '96. That's right.
yeah, he used the, but he didn't do it in '96 because we didn't have the mixer at that time.
Oh, you're right. So that was
It had
90.
it had to
Had
be
to be
'97.
95. Oh,
And
97. Maybe you're right.
yeah, and I think he had I think he used it like with a test tone, like a long
Interesting.
tone, wow, wow thingy,
Gonna have to
uh,
ask him about that.
putting a beat underneath it or something like that. I think because he did something different than what I did with it. I used it like a wah-wah pedal and then also paid homage to Cash Money behind me.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
Crazy did it. He did like an electro song with it, like using like
Mm.
the tone, like the like changing
Okay.
the filtering
Wait.
of the
Is in
tone.
the house. Is in the house. He says in '97 and that he did it the same way you did.
Didn't he do like electro track? Yeah, he used the highs, but didn't he do like electro track with it? He didn't scratch with it, did he? He used
Est-ce
like
que
an electro
tu peux être
track.
un peu plus précis, Nico? Little French. Oh, 90.
Yeah,
Wait. Well, are we gonna get that answer? We're gonna get that nerd answer for sure. But
it's gonna
did,
go. I feel like he didn't. I feel like he used the filter and the fader, not the
the
filter and the record. I mean,
ooh,
he cut up the tone like the something like
well,
that.
we have the fam Yom Crazy who knows a tremendous amount about all that stuff, and Crazy be in the house too. So hopefully will give us an answer to that question. But this thing became this oh, prime cuts, my friend Joel. I can't wait to have the conversation with you. This filter, I don't know. Did you give this technique a name? The thing or
No,
no?
just I thought everybody would learn it as soon as the mixer came out. The only reason I came up with it first was because I was the one who had the. It's actually right here. You can see. Whoop. Let's see if I can get some light on it. There's the. Whoop. Yep. I gotta move some stuff out the way.
And by the way, Crazy B said that it was just using the EQ from the mixer, the
Oh, okay,
fader
okay.
and the EQ from the mixer.
If I
And
put that like there.
and he had a Crybaby pedal in '96 though.
Okay.
Okay. Ooh, that's
Maybe.
your gold
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
techniques.
I could take it out. Hold on 1 second. I have to open
Awesome.
this. It's another problem. 1 second while I'm doing
Sure.
this. Bear with the horrible camera angles
Wow.
because this one, that's the one.
Wow. The
That's the one that came out.
'96 prize.
Yeah, and
Beautiful.
that's the one that had the. Oh shit! It's dusty. It went all the way to -24 and
Yep.
-24 and +12 dBs on the highs, and then when you use that thing right here, that's what made that sound. And I thought everybody's going to get one
Yep.
of these, obviously, and they did the next year.
Yep.
So I never thought about giving it a name. I mean, there was to me there was no really any use in giving them something
But
like that a name because it was just a technique that everybody was going to do.
well, I still feel that to this day you came up with this idea first in my mind, and I would and Crazy B maybe too, you know, same. But you guys are very in my again my humble opinion very similar approaches to you know in terms of party vibes, keeping the crowd entertained, quality selection, and all that stuff. And Joel was asking the most important question of the day: what is your skincare routine since you look 30 years 30 years old? It's gotta be the running,
Yeah, probably all the
man.
exercise. I don't know. I think
50
I think
kilometers.
oh, that was yesterday. Yeah, yeah.
That's
But
crazy.
Yeah. Well, I do these ultra marathons today. I
Awesome.
don't know if that's what's keeping me young, but it's definitely keeping me moving. Crazy said something about he was doing the Crybaby in 1996.
Yeah,
He had that
96.
maybe underneath the table. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
And
But this technique of yours, because in '96 you put out a record, The Whole Mess, which was a compilation of routines that you did, and also new routines, scratch routines, all the stuff, and it had a lot of that kind of flanger, filter
yeah,
stuff. So you
yeah,
used
and
use this in your record too.
yeah. I mean, at that time, I had no idea what I was doing. That it was just a record company in the UK that wanted me to put out some kind of
Rita
record, so I did.
Records.
Rita, yeah. So they
Yes.
just and it was, and then there was also the whole mess part one was Liberty Grooves that put that out.
Yep.
So uh, I, I just I did whatever I could, and the only thing that to me really mattered was the fact that I could get some quotes on there from movies that I hadn't heard in on other battle records,
Yep.
like the Scarface quotes, and the Big Daddy Kane quote part. But I'm gonna tear shit up. He says stuff like, I mean, there's some
Yes.
things that I hadn't heard on other battle records that I really wanted to have on my own record.
Yep.
Obviously, today anybody can just come up with any kind of digital thing and
Sure.
scratch it on their Scratch Live thing. But
YouTube
back
and
then,
whatever. Yeah.
having something on record that nobody else had was kind of a big deal.
And one quick remark:
Hmm.
you rarely used battle records. That's something you
Yeah,
were not really into. Everybody else was using, the scratch fetishes, the Superduck, the marshmallows, all the dirt style records, all that stuff. But you might use a swoosh, something like that, a sound,
yeah,
but you never
yeah.
built your routines based on a pre-recorded record or battle
No,
record.
no. I think it's somebody wants to use them, and all that's perfect for them. If they can
Yep,
do it and they can come up with something incredible with it, that's
yep,
perfect. To me, it was just also, it's kind of like if you're working with music on a day-to-day basis,
yep.
you can buy the whole native instruments, you know, all the presets and play them.
Complete and all the stuff. Yep,
Yeah, yeah, you can do that. But you'll have all the other sounds that everybody else has, and you're going to sound like them.
yep.
You want to sound like what you do. So, which is the reason why, if you look behind me, I got a cheap old guitar that I play.
Yep.
I got a bass I play.
Mm-hmm.
I got a so Fatty Moog. I got
Hey,
the
there you
old
go.
Cork M1 keyboard. I got
Little
a
analog
CP30.
synth. Okay.
Yeah, a
Oh, you
CP30
have a Corgan
keyboard.
one,
Yeah,
88.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, I
Yes.
try to collect as many vintage instruments as I
Yep.
can because I want to come up with my own sounds.
Absolutely.
And I want to sound like I want to know I want to feel like the sonic capability is something I've created, and which is also what you do when you come up with like a DJ routine or a DJ set if you're playing out in the club.
Analog. Yes.
You can go out and play Turn Up for What 1,000 times, and
Mm-hmm.
you'll have all the bottle service crowd jumping on the table and all the Instagram models flinging their skirts up and going crazy. But that's just not what I'm into. I want to give people that feeling that I got, when I was in the club, and you know, yeah, CP30, Joel,
CP30 in a Yamaha in the
yeah,
house. Yes.
yeah, yeah. That feeling that I got the first time I was in a club and somebody put on like 93 to Infinity,
Yes.
with Souls of Mischief, or the first time I was standing up against the speaker and a friend put on EPMD, So What You Saying, with that,
Mm.
if I can
Yep.
give somebody that feeling, that to me is
You
more
did.
important that, yeah, I mean,
You did, my friend.
and
Absolutely.
that's, and that's once again going back to a very, very nice observation by you, the sonic qualities. I think that's kind of how you could sum up most of my career. It's all about sonic quality.
Well, Denmark. I mean, you gave us all the fun. You gave us needles.
Yeah, that's right.
You have a big history with fusion jazz in the '70s and great studio musicians, electric piano. Just a country that really cares about speakers, really cares about sound quality, accuracy, high fidelity. So I'm really not surprised that it became kind of the signature trait of your identity. So 2000, you what made you decide to come back in 2000?
Tell you the truth, I thought I was going to be able to maybe win the team battle and maybe the world jet battle at the same time because I had a team. We had a team here in Copenhagen, which was me,
Yes.
Static, and Shine.
Oh man, the
And
Denmark's finals,
and
right?
yeah, and we lost to three other guys, which is still being debated today, this day
Yep.
today.
Yep.
But then we lost fair and square, nothing to do
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I went to the World Finals, it was just I was all there, kind of all alone, entering the battle and the finals. And I would say the one thing I did wrong that year was definitely that I thought I could win. And then when I lost the team battle and went to the World Finals, I entered both the supremacy and the single.
Yes. Yes.
And I ended up concentrating on how do you say, like, taking a bigger bite than I thought I could chew.
Mm. Got a little greedy, you think?
Yeah, I think maybe greedy because
Yep.
for once we lost the team battle in Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went to the finals and I lost the supremacy to I can't remember who I lost to. Doesn't
Scully,
even
right?
matter.
Scully?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Scully.
The
He did
semi-finals, I
something.
think, and then Cod, my French fellow countryman, I think he won the whole thing.
Yeah, okay. Well, to me, it's kind of blurry. The only thing that I really remember is thinking in the finals that okay, at least I might be able to nail this one.
Right.
And then I had a loop on my Planet Rock routine
Well, wait.
that didn't
We'll
work.
get
That
to
didn't
that.
work. That didn't
It's
work.
because you came to Paris and then Prime Cuts. I mean, Joel, he was there too.
Hmm.
ITF 2000 in Paris,
Yeah.
showcase with you, Prime Cuts, Rob Swift.
Hmm.
I have the tape at home, and
Hmm.
then and you were using the PM, the '07 Vestax, and I
Yeah.
mean, we know what you guys did with this, especially Prime Cuts and the Euro Scratch and all the crazy spaceship
Yeah.
stuff. I was blown away by that stuff, but one of my favorite performances from you, ITF 2000 in Paris. You had a routine with this record right here
Hmm.
and the Rasco scratch, all the beautiful stuff that you added, by the way, in 2000.
Hmm.
A little different version. But the Planet Rock routine,
Hmm.
you done it to perfection in Paris.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he had maybe two stickers on the record or something like that. It
Yeah.
was kind of tricky. And
Yeah.
then, yes, in 2000, you started great. Cash Money was dancing behind. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then, yes, the Planet Rock. What happened? Can you describe give a little backstory?
Fate. Fate happened.
Fates. Yes.
Fate. It was just fate. We're losing the team, going to the UK, thinking I can enter two competitions, losing the supremacy, being too cocky, and then going into the finals, thinking, okay, maybe this is, and then it was not meant to be that year. If you look at it statistically, it's just
Oh
that's just
man! But you brought back because '98, it was in Paris, and Craze, it was a different cat. You know,
yeah,
Crazy B, everybody was like Crazy B, he's gonna win it. '98, that's it, that's his year,
yeah,
And then Craze came with a brand new style. It was still hip hop, but he was already starting to take it to the electronic. I mean, he was doing crazy shit. So in 2000, Craze was already back-to-back champion.
yeah.
Did you
And
still feel that you could beat him in 2000?
I felt like I had a chance to get a placement. That's what I felt. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I could, if I can't get first, I might be able to get second or third. But when that routine messed up,
Yep.
I know that I wouldn't be standing up there in second place. I knew that was it. I'd slip down the
Yep.
list of contenders. But once again, this was just fate. I mean, it was just kind
Yep.
of coming back and trying to do something
Yep.
that was kind of out of my reach at the time. But
Mm.
also, once again, I was just I was using regular records, and Craze kind of went up there with only
Woo. Drum and
skip
bass and
drum and bass and skip proof battle records
that's right.
and
His own
stuff
record.
like
Yep.
yeah where like Mark, Mr. Thing, he went up there and he just used hip hop records and did a proper
Awesome
hip hop
set.
set.
Fantastic
And he
set.
did, yeah, and he didn't have any mistakes like I did. So his place in the world finals was definitely deserved.
Third. Yep.
Yeah. I think he came. Didn't he come second?
Third,
I thought he came second.
second was the guy from Australia, Dexter, I think.
Oh, that's right. Dexter came second. That's right. That's right.
Incredible cat too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But
Incredible cat.
yeah, all these guys valid in their placements,
Yep.
and all the guys very deserving of what they got. I mean, there's no way that you will ever be able to change history, and there's no way I would go back and change what I did that year because I thought I could,
Yep.
but I couldn't, and that's it. That's
Well,
just the way. That's just the way it is.
talking about fate, I think before the Planet Rock, because I never seen you pulling the wrong record on the turntable. You always
That's right.
classified your record properly and everything, and you're very quick. Bam, 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 bam. I mean, I'm like, I don't even know how you do it. To this day, I don't know how to do it that well. I don't even know how to place the sticker on the record properly. But you started with a little diss, a little wordplay with I and I.
Yeah, that's right.
You remember? And then
Yeah,
right
and MF
before,
Doom.
yes, and right before pulling the Echo Leader instrumental,
Yeah.
there's something you put the wrong record on the turntable, and you had to rewind the I and I a little bit. When
Yeah,
it says,
I think I put the DJ
check
Cool
it out,
record on
something like
top.
that
Yeah,
was right before.
I put the
You,
DJ Cool record on top. I think I put the wrong record at the top of my stack.
you
The
picked,
second record should have
yes,
been at the top.
on the left side, you picked the record, you put it, and
Yeah.
then you realized it was the wrong record, so you rewinded the I and I a cappella, and then you put the Echo Leader instrumental.
I
And I
think I
was like,
saved that one though. That one wasn't that
it
wasn't too
was an
bad.
extraordinary save. It was extraordinary, my friend. I mean, no, it could not have been better. But it's the first time I saw you make a mistake when it comes to pulling the right record on the turntable, and I told myself, "Ooh, this might be kind of a sign that it could be difficult." And then you ended up doing great,
Yeah,
Gangstar, the Timbuktu. I forgot what it was.
yeah.
All that
All those
stuff.
were, everything was going perfect until Planet
Yep.
Rock. That was
Yep.
it. I mean, I think the Gangstar juggle might have been a bit over people's heads. To me, I still think that's one of the good juggles I've ever done.
It's
One of the
on 45 with the, oh man.
yeah, and the timing. I know Joel would know exactly what that routine was about. Actually, speaking
Yep.
of Joel being a drummer,
Yep.
but I think it might have been too technical, and then the Timbuktu might have not been a bit less technical. I don't know.
Right.
It had something to do with the composition of the set, and when you got to the Planet Rock, then obviously there was nothing I could do about it. It's not like I messed up and
No.
skipped like a needle off the record or broke something or or made an error with the juggle or something.
Right.
Everything was perfect. It was just a sticker that
Yep.
had moved.
That I've moved.
That's not,
And you
and you
tried
can't.
in
Yeah,
Paris. It was flawless, and then you even used on the '07. There was
yeah.
a reverse channel on top,
Channel
and you
thing.
used it to
Yeah,
create even more melodies. I mean,
that's right.
who knows that mixer better than Prime Cuts? I mean, I've seen
Yeah,
him things do incredible things. But
that's right.
if I can be for a short second the devil's advocate, because I love you so much, so I can be a little more. Craze was coming up with the drum and bass. He
Yeah,
was coming up with just a new. He was taking the DMC towards new horizons when it comes to the
yeah,
selection.
yeah.
And when you came back in 2000, I felt the old school is back. The substance, the soul, the funk is back. So to me, you were, it was like a victory seeing you coming back, because by 99, people were starting to put those R&B records with electronic samples. It was no longer about samples like soulful samples. So when you
Yeah.
came back, I was like, the tradition of selection and warmth is back. So that was a huge. But I told myself, maybe the DMC is somewhere else now. Now they want to go electronic. They want to go crazy needle stuff. And did you feel like there was a clash of kind of, not generations, but a clash of styles when it comes to the old school versus new?
I think a lot of people would argue that it was a clash of styles, but what people tend to fail to realize is the fact that the DMC was never really a hip hop competition. The
Right.
DMC was always a DJ competition.
That's right.
So it was up to the DJ in which direction they wanted to take it.
Yep.
And the guy who to me is untouchable, Crazy is untouchable.
Whew.
He came up with the most incredible routines using a sort of style of music that he likes and
Yep.
he thought would move the competition in a certain direction.
Mm.
To me, there's nothing you can do about that, and that's the way the competition moved, like organically.
Yep.
I think that I'm thinking you said I should make sure I have enough power on my phone, but now I'm gonna have to put in a
Yes.
charger. Give me 1 second. I'm just
Oh,
gonna go pick up a
oh,
charger.
take all the time you need. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. DJ Cheese in '86. I haven't found his routine on YouTube. I think I'm gonna have to check that out again. But your set, Joel, in '98, legend, and also you guys showcase in 2000 in Paris. I mean, I was just blown away. You remember I shared a video of you doing the Euro scratch, and I mean, whenever the time is right, I would love to have a conversation with you as well. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I can't believe I'm hanging out with the legendary DJ Noize. I mean, talking about somebody who made an incredible impact on this art form we love all so much. It's truly a tremendous honor. And so we were, yeah, 2000, the clash of styles. And you said, I think you're absolutely right about what you said. It was never a hip hop first competition, and then just Craze took it wherever he wanted to take it. And his 2000 performance is, I mean, the closest to perfection. I don't know what you remember of it, but
To me, no. All the Crazy's performances were incredible.
right,
You can hear what I'm saying, right? I'm hoping
not as good.
these ones out.
Okay, not
Not as
as good,
good?
but still good.
All right, let me see if I can. Maybe I can do.
I can hear this guy. Yep. Maybe he wants to answer a couple of questions too.
I just have to let that guy out.
There you go.
I'll try. Is that better?
Yes, it is a little better. Yep. There's a little static,
Okay.
and the connection is not as good, but
I'll put
volume.
some on.
Yeah, volume up. Yeah, my volume is, I think, all the way up. It was better when you were
Can you
wearing
hear what I'm
earphones.
saying now?
Yes,
Can
yes. There's a
anybody
little noise, but that's cool.
All right. Well, to me, all of Crazy's routines are incredible.
Yep.
But if I have to point at one routine that I always show people, and I always say this, to be like a flawless routine and also a prime example of the getting the maximum amount of quality out of your turntables, then I always point to Vidra's set, Chris Corn's set from his hotel room when he was practicing for the finals. There's like a small
Yep.
DJ.
Oh, I think I remember the one you. Yep. I wish the connection was a little better.
I think. I'll try to put it up there again. Maybe the connection is okay. It's on Wi-Fi, so it should be okay. Can you hear me now?
I mean, people, somebody's saying they can't really hear you. I think hopefully they can. It's,
Tell me when it's okay.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of static and connection, keeps cutting off, but I'm glad it worked because, I don't want to take too much of your time. I'm so glad everything worked, but it is muffled. It is a little muffled.
Prime Cuts is saying the exact one.
Yes.
Yeah, Joe, that's right. The one when Chris is wearing the wristbands, he's in a white T-shirt, he's in his hotel room, and he's just cutting up records. That's the one I always point to.
Interesting.
When I come up, if somebody asks me, so
what's the best thing you ever seen? And I say, listen, just I'll send you the link. It's right there on on YouTube. You can go in and watch
Right.
it. Chris's routine from his hotel room with his friends. Just I mean, to me, that's the maximum you can get out of your turntables, like using real records, not
Nice.
using a digital set.
Nice. Thank you for mentioning that, because I don't think I've seen that routine, so I'm going to check it out for sure.
Oh, you're in for a treat. Jesus,
Oh, man.
that is incredible.
Wow. And that's the second time that you mention his name, so he must be I mean, somebody who it seems that you really admire and respect for his skills. So I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, I've never actually met him. I've I haven't met him in real life. I still have that. I still have that pleasure of meeting him. So later on, we have a mutual friend who lives in his town anyway. So I'm gonna go see him
Yep.
at the Mile High DJ Supply.
Nice. Well, let's hope that this whole madness ends so we can travel again. And now that, I mean, if I ever come to Denmark, I might hit you up. I don't, I don't want to be,
Welcome.
I don't want to be, I don't want to bother you. But I always one of my pleasures and privileges with this hip hop thing is that we know people all over the world, and they become friends because of this love for music that we have and this art form, And I'm sure that Joel, same thing. Next time I go to London, whenever the the country is open again, because my friends is closed right now too. Anyways, but I would love to be able to see the city with people who lived in the actual city and who represent so much for this passion that we all have. So, of course, it's been there's a pandemic, and I follow you, I see what you're doing, I see that you are doing a lot of things to keep your mental, in good health, and then you run a lot. And you told me, talking about the present now, because we talked about a lot of memories, incredible memories. We were texting each other back and forth, and you told me that you're doing a podcast on the Denmark's national radio. And it's been rescheduled. I mean, it's been, yes, is that the right word? Rescheduled for the whole year?
Yeah, I mean, it's been extended.
Extended, yes, that's what
I never thought I'd be back on Denmark's radio as a producer for like a
Mhm.
podcast when I had a hip hop show for 10 years. But it's just the way the chips fell. I worked with a lot of comedians over the last 10 years doing like a charity show called Comedy Aid. And through
Yep.
that, I made a lot of comedic friends. So when two of the comedians were offered to do like a satire podcast,
Yep.
sketch show podcast on Denmark's radio, I offered to produce it for them. And then
Nice.
that kind of extended. So what I'm doing these days, my basic routine is obviously spending a lot of time with my family. I'm doing a lot of running and to keep my head clear. And then I spend like an hour every day on the turntables, and then I'm in the studio either working on music for, like, as I said, an advertisement or a documentary or anything like that.
Yep.
Or I'm editing the podcast. So I haven't been kind of restricted like a lot of people have been with COVID.
Yep.
I've been okay with it. I think that a lot of people out there are doing a lot worse than I'm doing, career-wise, especially
Yep.
the ones that have been relying on getting out there and performing live. Which is also why, during this last year, whenever I've had a project where I needed like a session musician, I've used a lot of my friends. Come on in, play on this. I can be able to write you a check and, maybe help you along the way.
Yep.
And I think that's the one thing that we as musicians got to rely on during something like this. This is an unprecedented thing that we haven't been in before.
Yep.
We got to back each other up, because there's one thing that the government isn't doing. It's backing up us as a cultural establishment.
Artists, we always paid a very, very large price. Yep.
Yeah, if you look back, if you really want to get specific about it, if you and me, if we were living in the Middle Ages with knights and princesses and stuff like that, you and me and Joel and probably a lot of the people in the chat, we would all be jesters with the funny hat on and
Yep.
the banjo.
Yep.
Jumping on the table and playing for the king and the princess. We are the entertainment. If there was a pandemic even in the Middle Ages, they would still pay the jester to play because they need to get cheered up.
Yep.
These days, they don't need us. They don't need the jesters.
It's
They just need their phone. You know, living in a big world through a small screen,
yep.
classified to Papa from Canada said it the best, and that's really what killing us as artists.
I agree. I agree, and I feel there's a whole conversation that you and I could have maybe in the future about, you know, because I know you feel very strong about. I mean, you've been on radio 10 years. You've seen the evolution of the you know, the kind of freedom that you know, the kind of music that you had the freedom to play, and how things have changed. And of course, coming from an era of no Facebook, no social media, you know, pagers, even me, you know, when I started, there was no social media, no cell phones, and all that stuff. So we lived, everything we shared is what I would call analog memories.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, the true substance, the warmth, the substance. And now it's a lot of digital memories. Yes, there's tremendous talent. Yes, there's great gigs, but you don't, there's something in terms of substance, in terms of, you know, and I think it's I don't want to sound nostalgic, because I'm not. I like 2021 despite the pandemic, but you know, I've done incredible things for myself here in LA. But I do miss, that's why I reach out to people like you, Prime Cuts, Cut Chemists, Cosmo D from Nucleus, because I want to get the feel of that era I was too young to live. You know, I grew up in the 90s, which is great, but in 94 I was 10 years old. You know, so you were already on top of the world. I was 10 years old.
But now you're working with a lot of cool people and you're having a great career.
And now I reach out to you, and you said, yes, I'm going to have a conversation. And for the last, you know, we've been talking about it for maybe a month and a half, something like that. And I was so looking forward to finally get to talk to you, get to meet you. I try to. It's kind of hard to find informations about you on the internet. And in Europe, we do enjoy our privacy. It's not like in the US where you find everything about everything. You know, I like that about Europe. So I'm glad for those the podcast that you did with Kila Kela, because you know he brought some light, your childhood, teenage years, and again, you know, I hope I've done an okay job at with questions, because I mean, you and, you know, Prime Cuts again, and I mean, you really represent the what I would call you're a basketball guy, so you would probably know. He used to play with Magic Johnson, of course. As soon as I mentioned, I forgot his name. His nickname was Silk. Anyways, he said about Kareem and about players like that they belong to the upper pantheon of excellence. You know, and I really, to me, you belong to that pantheon of, you know, if I had to put the word turntablist in the dictionary, I would put your picture right next to it. You know.
I do appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. But I think the fact that you're going back and checking out for all these people that helped build the foundation is something that everybody should aspire to do. I mean, if you don't know where you're coming from, there's no way to
yes
to know how to build a future. You know, and as you
Absolutely.
said, the analog memories that we share, it's kind of like, I don't know how to put it best. I guess it would be how to describe. You know, I've got a 16-year-old daughter, and when I take her out for hikes, I make her leave her phone at home, because all the memories we're going to get, she needs to have them in here.
Yep.
And not on her device.
Yes.
So
very important.
It's the basics of it. I think is that try to be more here.
Sure.
And not in your phone. And
sure.
That could work a lot for people, I think.
Absolutely. And it's kind of without getting into too philosophical or whatever, but we kind of live in a world of communication without communication.
That's right.
But I do enjoy using a modern tool like Instagram to allow us to connect on a human side like that, kind of an old school way. You know, that's my philosophy with these interviews, is to kind of get a feel again, you know, those analog memories using the modern tools, because you guys, I mean, with the technology of the 90s, you use the tools of that era, you know, and it's just that I feel the technology, we made so much progress in 20, 30 years that it could be a little too much now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's kind of it's sped up so much that also I don't know if it's got enough power for me to do this, to show you, to kind of drive home the point that you were making about. Normally, I'm here in my studio. Obviously, I can kind of walk around now and kind of turn on a little bit more of the light so you can see. But with all the technology you have at your hand, and you have all the things you need, you know, you have the speakers and the digital workstations and whatever. Right. With my turntable setup, what I did was, obviously I have a, now I can do this. I actually went out and I bought myself an Eclair.
I saw, yeah. I saw you posted about it.
Doesn't have any kind of interface or anything
pads
like that, because that makes me go back and use my records a lot more.
Ooh, the BlackBerry record, yes.
Yeah,
awesome.
And whatever. So it's kind of, if you force yourself, it's good to have the digital. I definitely have Serato still.
Sure.
And I definitely still use it. But if you force yourself to kind of use a lot of the things that have restrictions,
limitations,
then,
yes.
Yeah, then you'll end up with, you know, with great things. Like, it's great to have, say, like a 2500 has a lot of,
yep,
it has a lot of features, but
right,
equally it's good to have, to use a 60 sometimes.
Wow, you have the 62. Wow, awesome.
Yeah, because that gives you limitations.
Yep.
And that makes you become more creative, I think. And
absolutely.
I think that's the reason why we got stuff like Gangster's Daily Operation.
Yep.
You could only use a 60, and it only had 8 seconds of sample time in mono.
Absolutely.
How do I come up with a great album that way? And he
yep.
came up with classics. So if you limit yourself, you'll become more creative. And
yep.
And that goes for either if you're on a guitar, on a turntable, on a digital audio workstation.
Yep.
Painting a picture, writing a poem, whatever. Give yourself
yep.
some limitations, and you'll come up with something better.
I really, you know, to end on this note, I really appreciate, you know, the videos that you, because, you know, when I'm home, I practice on vinyl. I'm a vinyl person. Of course, I worked a little bit with the Beat Junkies at the school. So, you know, and even when I moved here, I worked at a different DJ school. So I had to step up my game and Serato and all that stuff. And, you know, I was kind of a purist. I was kind of like, no, I'm vinyl. My back is not good, but I'm going to bring my crates. That's it. That's me. You know, I've done a funk night, 80s funk boogie and all that stuff for 2 years, straight vinyl. That was we had Rhythmatic play records, we had Chemist play records, bring crates, you know, it was just fantastic, beautiful things to see. Old-timers, you know, legends coming with crates of record that they have selected especially for this night, you know. And one wish that I have is when you come to LA and we can hopefully have parties again, you come to our night and you spin a set.
I'll tell you what, if I come to LA to visit you, I mean, if you got to come to over here and visit me, I'll be your tour guide. I'll host you and everything. We'll make that a deal. But when I come to LA, I'm going to bring a crate of records.
Yes.
I won't bring a laptop. I'll bring a crate.
Yes. Man, this is I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you've done for us, mere mortals, you know, just the mere mortals. I have, you know, I already told you, but I have tremendous respect, admiration for not only what you did for music, for this art form, but the fact that today we connected on a human level, and that people say don't meet your heroes. I always say meet your heroes. Because if you know how to pick, they're good people. And all my heroes are great people. And today I feel, you tell me you stop me, but I feel there's a friendship, and to me, hip hop, that's the beauty of hip hop. It's this friendship, this community, the family, just because we like this art form so much of the turntables,
Oh, definitely. I can
And
tell you're coming from a genuine perspective. So there's no way
yes,
that you or me are not going to keep talking in the future.
yep.
And I think that doesn't matter if we were doing an interview or not.
Well, I felt that from the beginning. Your videos, what the vibe that I got, not knowing you, I knew that I could reach out to you and that you would say yes or no. That's not the point. The point is, I reach out to you and humbly ask you if you would be interested, and you said yes. And I'm kind of impatient with my heroes, and it's like prime cuts. We've been talking about it since maybe November or September, but I know he's gonna now. He saw the interview. He's like, okay, I'm gonna do it too. And again, I just wanted to really thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been Thank you so much for your time. It's been just a wonderful memory that I will cherish forever. And trust me, I don't say that because I want to. No, I'm real about this. I love you guys so much. I spend so much time with you guys watching the tapes and trying to mimic you. And so the fact that I'm able to talk to the people who came before me, and I have so much respect for my peers. And I can't wait to just travel, and if I'm in Paris, I might I might let you know, and hopefully meet you, and we have a coffee together or whatever. I know you're a big coffee person.
Yeah,
So
that's one of my vices is definitely coffee. But listen, you're welcome. Whenever this COVID shit blows over, make your way to Copenhagen and let me know when you're here.
I would love to. Maybe we go dig for buy records together. That would be
I so much hope that you'll be stopping by London and bringing Joel with you. That would be incredible.
Yes, of course, right now, projects, future, everything seems very unstable. But I want to have dreams. I came here because of dreams, and this is one of my dreams: hanging out with you guys and just share memories, have a drink, chill, friends, and the fact that now we know each other a little better. It's a highlight of my life. Trust me. So again, thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
Be successful with your podcast. It's tremendous news, and if it's good money, even better. And because we all need to pay the bills right now, it's tough for artists, but we survive. And I will keep following what you do. I walk 10 kilometers, 9 to 10 kilometers every day because of you. So thank you for the inspiration. I don't run because my body is fucked up, but I walk. It's better than nothing. And let's just connect. Let's just, keep me posted if you have music that you're putting out, whatever. I'm interested.
Just stay in touch. Stay in touch with me, and we'll link up in the future. Definitely.
Indeed, my friend. Sooner than later.
Definitely.
You take care.
You too.
Bye. Peace, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon.